black and into bright sand, straight toward the warm sun and into his hands. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer.
Hello everybody, good evening. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this is a live stream. We used to do these all the time. It's been like a month since I've done one. I've really been slacking lately. I've been off my game. Haven't done a video in the last couple weeks. Last video I did was in Portugal. That was like 2 weeks ago. So I'm doing the live stream tonight. I gotta get back into the habit. As with anything, you fall into the habit of doing it, and you just gotta get back into doing it. And I say that all the time. And then, we'll see what next week looks like. Actually, next week I'll be in Spain, so I'll be traveling again, which should be fun. But so I'm not sure if anybody's got actually joined this live stream, but for those of you guys who, I see some of you guys are here already. But thanks for watching. Honestly, one person's here so far. So the last few weeks have been very, very busy in terms of development. I've been struggling a lot with Android stuff in terms of we had that new thing for the 1st of November where they had to update all your apps to support. I thought it was Android 29. However, the last time I tried to do an upload, it had to be Android 31, which seems like it'd be an easy thing. Most of the time when I set the target SDK on an Android application, it's fine. There's no big major changes. It still compiles, all this kind of stuff. Well, not when I was going to 31. To go from 30 to 31 to Android S or to Android 12 as a target SDK, that was just a pain. I mean, a lot of stuff stopped working in terms of doing the you had to change your pending intents to be where it's mutable or immutable and all this kind of stuff, and it was just it's caused me quite a bit of issues. Also with my existing Corona SDK applications, which I did years ago in Corona SDK, I'm going through and I spent an entire weekend, I think it was the weekend before last, just updating these applications and updating them, uploading them. I don't know if you guys have had the same kind of issues, but it's that thing. I mean, over the years, the question I get asked a lot is, should you do one app or should you do lots of different apps? And I went the latter route. I was like, you know what? Just to cover all the bases, I'll make lots of apps. We'll just get crazy about it. We'll do a factory type thing and just start creating loads and loads. And it started off with the issues on Apple, the 4.3 guidelines saying, no, these are too similar to each other. If you have more than 5, then they're going to be too similar to each other. So there was that issue on the Apple side. But now Google Play, it's just when they make these sweeping changes, you have to go through and update them all. And luckily, a few years ago, I wrote some scripts that will do that. Some Node.js scripts that use Fastlane tools to upload them. So luckily that was kind of like, once I was able to get my issue sorted out, I was able to upload all the applications there. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. Thanks for joining. Let's see. We got a comment here from Kevin. Kevin says, I'm working on my next news interview is getting done at my workplace. News anchors are doing stories on me and how I am helping people. That's awesome. And I know, Kevin, you're always sending me emails about the holidays and stuff like that. I'm glad you're doing really well. Sunil said, long time to see you. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Yeah, it's one of these, I want to be able to say that I've been working on some really important stuff and I've just been so busy, but no, man, I've just been slacking. I've just been, all honesty, sir, I have no excuse. Let's see, Kevin says, would you like to do an interview with me at my workplace one day? Yeah, but you're in Florida, right? I mean, well, maybe that would be a good reason to go to Florida. No, that'd be awesome. Let's see, Eamon says, hey Eric, how's everything? Everything's good. I mean, I've been doing a lot of traveling the last few months, which is just basically trying to do the digital nomad thing and work from different places. I'm not doing that this weekend, so just going over the weekend, try and see what that's like, and so that kind of stuff that I've always wanted to do. I've got my youngest he's just turned 18, so now I'm this year is the year that this is the year that I turned 50, and I'm also the parent of all grown-up children. So that's it. And I was wearing my cardigan earlier today and my slippers, and just watching World War II movies. Just getting older. And Eamon says, I think the China model, like making many low-level, is that what that's called? Apps, is not a good thing. No, it's not. It's one of those things. So, when people give you advice, and they can give you advice like, well, I could have told you that. No, the reason I could tell you that it's not good to do many apps is because I've done that. And that's, there's so many apps that I've done that I've just, like, they're not even worth upgrading. Not even worth, they're not even worth, putting back on the store because it doesn't make that much money. It's too big of a hassle to upgrade it. But then you think, there's that sunk cost stuff, fallacy, whatever, where you're like, but I spent so much money on it. The developers I spent on, or all the hours I spent, I probably should keep it going. But and then you also got this other, and then the apps that I've written myself, what it's like if you've ever done, like if you've never done an app but you've done DIY, this feeling. Like everyone says it looks good, but that one little bit that you messed up on. Like there's a lot of my own applications like that, and and that one little bit where nobody else would notice it, I just can't. That really bothers me. So you get that a lot with app development too. And Eamon says, is it tourism or business? It was both. Basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to go and just explore and see what this is like. I think over the years I've always wanted to go places, and I wanted to do the whole traveling when I was in my 20s, but I got married very, very young. I had kids, and no complaints there, obviously. But now as I get older, I thought, well, that's I did a video when I turned 50 talking about middlescence, this thing where we're living longer than we ever have before. So just because I'm turned 50 doesn't mean like life ends. I mean, whole new things could be started. So I'm trying different stuff, and I used to have this, well, I still do have this fantasy about just getting rid of the apartment and just be able to take my laptop and be able to work from anywhere. Just go like to a different country like once a month or something like that. Stay in Airbnbs and everything like that. Now, so what I've been doing is these trips to try to determine whether or not is that something that looks better than it actually would be. Like, because, the places I've gone, I met some really cool people and hung out with some very interesting people. Just that I met there, just go by myself and everything like that. But there's that, and then there's the loneliness and you just can't even schedule anything. You got so much stuff going on and stuff like that. So yeah, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to see whether or not I could just survive off of this one, to go from my desktop to MacBook Air and just do everything from there. So, and it seems to be working pretty well. I mean, even so far as to not rely on the mouse as much and trying to scale down. I mean, if you were to look around my apartment here, you would see like loads of phones here. I mean, I've got on my desk here, I've got 7 mobile phones, Android and iOS. I've got a few more over on the table. I've got loads of camera equipment. I got a comfortable chair. I got a chair with rollerblade wheels on the bottom of it. It's like, it's really, I'm like but then there's a thing saying, I'm basically creating shackles to this desk. Every time I make this desk more comfortable or more necessary, or I get a new bit of equipment, and it's like, I should never be able to understand how people could be hunched over a laptop in an office and just be like this. But now that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be that kind of, existence. So, So yeah, so that should be so that's basically what I'm doing. What else has been going on? The apps have been doing okay. The apps have been they're still actually this time of year the revenue is getting a bit hot, getting a bit more. So that's kind of nice. I think, like, if I was I can't show you my ad mob, but I could tell you what it's. Ad mob is still the major source of revenue, even though I haven't really, aside from the updates I did a few weekends ago, I haven't really done any new releases. But yeah, so like yesterday, 21 pounds, this could be about 500, it looks like it'll probably be about 570 pounds for the month of November. So, and I think it's, a lot of these applications sort of, kind of just, petering off. It's this thing where, you do have to maintain them, and you do have to go through and give them the TLC and everything that they need. And I just haven't been doing it. It says, lots of costs. Yeah, there is lots of costs, but there's lots of costs everywhere at the moment. It says, no, I'm not really this geeky guy. What? All right, let's see. Cord Funk, hey man, how's it going? How are things going? Doing new projects in Flutter at the moment. Ooh, cool, awesome. That sounds really good. I keep starting. Am I doing new project in Flutter at the moment? No, I keep starting them. I keep starting them and thinking, because I've done a few Xamarin Forms projects on my own, which I think, and I haven't even released them, but I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I get. This is a terrible thing. This is kind of like when I started. I'm in that same kind of, you're up at you're at 80%, completed, and then you're like, no, let's go back and do it. Let's do this other language because then it would be cool to have that hero animation or whatever. And then that's a bad thing to do. It's, I'm going against my own advice, which is you have to go live, right? As this thing I have with the issue I've had with clients, issues I've had with myself, even talking to other developers, that kind of that cold feet of going live, I had that. So and then you keep making these excuses like, well, it's December now. There's no reason to do anything in December. Might as well wait till January. And then it's like, and then in January, like, well, who does any, who buys things in January? So let's see. Amos says, you don't use Flutter? I do use Flutter. I have 2 client projects which I've done in Flutter, and so I have to maintain them and bring those up to date. In fact, last month, it was 2 months ago, I had an update. I just had to do a small update on Flutter, and because there were these breaking changes with the Firebase libraries from the early Flutter version 1 going to Flutter 3, that in the end I just had to downgrade my Flutter. And then actually, so I could compile it, but then gradually I've been going through and then updating those to the latest version. But no, I do. But it's not my. It's the technology I like working with. I like working with Flutter. I do like the syntax. I like the way that it looks. I like how fluid it is. But if I need to get something done quickly, I'll go to the C# route through Xamarin Forms. And it used to be that Ionic was my main thing. Oh, Ionic. That's another thing. I've got I need to deal with this issue on an Ionic application where a developer did the work, but he did it on Android, and so I get the white screen of death on iOS. So that's several hours of work for me to go through, try to figure out why that's happening, and it's kind of on my to-do list of stuff to do. So it's something I need to schedule in, and yeah, it's been like a lot of everything's a bit slow at the moment, which is, it's not that bad a thing. So, let's see. Corfunk says, so no non-client apps in the pipe. I still have that one that I was working on earlier this year, and we kind of did a marketing push on it, but it was a kind of situation where I realized that I was trying to half-ass it, where I was trying to get other people to do the marketing for me and trying to get them to do this stuff, and it was like, I'm trying to delegate because that's, the delegation is important, but then it's like, okay, I got too much. I got this, I got this work over here, I got this client over here, I got this, and then it was kind of like, I wasn't delegating, I was advocating. Oh, so one of my favorite books, which just happens to be sitting on my desk here, E-Myth Revisited. He talks about there's a big difference between, delegating and abdicating. Is it abdicating? Yeah. So you're abdicating. You're just like, dude, just just do it for me. But just get it done. Whereas you delegate, you're like, you lead them, you help them, in that you give them the time so that they can do it on their own later. When you're basically abdicate. Yeah. You just basically are just saying, just take it away, just do it. And then when that person leaves, you're like, oh, you're kind of screwed because you don't, or they don't do it exactly the way that you want them to because you weren't involved in the early process of it and everything like that. So, let's see. Corfox says, I'm curious, for your projects in Flutter, do you share some code? For example, a component library or anything else? Like as the sharer, I do use a lot of shared libraries. Do you share something? Yeah. Oh, yes, I do share code, but I don't do it like in a compiled way. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't have like a shared library that I use, but a lot of times I will go and use different. Like, if I've written a function, then I'll go. I mean, I think we all do that, don't we? Like, okay, oh yeah, I've done this in another project. Let me just run over there and check that code, right? I've already figured this out, but I just can't remember how I did it. So let me go back and have a look at that, and then take that code out and all that stuff. So I think it's a lot of it is the, we talk about this before, like the code that you actually write. We talk about the value that it has, but really a lot of it is how robust and how functional it is and everything like that. So, but yeah, no, I'll do code. How do you do that? Let's see. Eamon says, I wanted to ask you something, by the way, since I always get told about being legal with papers and registering. I'm thinking about maybe something virtual to be legal. I wanted to ask about something, by the way, since I always get told about being legal, like papers and registering. And I'm thinking of maybe something virtual to be legal. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I get that. I mean, you're talking about like setting up a company or doing an application, or there's certain things. You could release an app as a company, as a legal entity, or you could release it as an individual. And I mean, that's the nice thing about it. And you're really talking about how it affects your different taxes and stuff like that. Where that revenue actually comes from. All the stuff that I've done has been through Overpass as a legal entity. So that's in some ways that's good. Other ways it's bad. An example of this is there's this doing YouTube videos. There's a sound library that a lot of YouTubers use called Epidemic Sounds, which is like you could go through and get all this royalty-free music and everything like that. And I signed up for that like a few years ago, and they contacted me, and it was like I was like $30 a month or something like that. It may be less than that, but it was like unlimited use of the library, everything kind of. And then once I signed up, they contacted me and says, since you're a company, you have to do the business rates. And I go, oh, what's the business rates? They go, and they started, it was like ridiculously huge. It was like, it's the same service. I'm still one guy, but because I'm one guy as a company, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, for every track you use, you could pay, like $30 per track, but then we'll limit it to this. And it was like this, why, like the only difference between me, the individual, and me, the company, was the details I put down, right? There was like, but it was just one of those things. And it reminded me of, if you've ever been married, you're gonna say, you get a photographer, and the photographer's gonna charge you something, but when you say it's for a wedding, they're like, ooh, ching 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 ching, because because that's what they could do. To make a company, yeah. I mean, making a company. I always think it's a good idea, because I read this. There's a book called Going Alone. I have it. I have props. I read this book years ago. It's called Go It Alone by Jeff Birch. I don't know if you can see that. And it's okay. He's kind of a funny guy, so. But one of the things he says in this book is talking about setting up a legal entity. You don't want to be too restrictive. Like, the reason I called my company Overpass and not Overpass Apps, even though I call it Overpass Apps everywhere, but legally it's Overpass Limited, is because if I want to change what I do, then I can. I mean, I've had the company since 2004. Sometimes it's just I use it for contracting. Sometimes I use it for other stuff. I use it, I just have this legal entity, right? And you could do that. Like, if you were to set up a company, you could still use it for other things. It doesn't have to be, I mean, usually if you set up a company, you have to say what sector it's in. So it's like, technology or whatever. But like if you were to pivot and do something else, you could still use it. So, I mean, if you get all that stuff set up, it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, it depends on the kind of work that you do. Some things I get, I'll invoice a company and they want to have like a company that they're working with. And sometimes I'll get, I had this happen last week where I'm on a call with somebody and we're talking about this, make some changes to their application. And they go, so do you guys work out of here or do you guys? And I was like, it used to be you guys, but at the moment it's just this guy. But, obviously the nice thing is that because of it's not the nice thing about the pandemic. The downside, of course, was all the death and destruction and loneliness. The upside was that people expect you to be in your living room when you're in a meeting. It's like it doesn't have that stigma it did just like 4 or 5 years ago, where you're just like I'm at home. But yeah, you could still set up a company. Cornfunk says, internally in my company, we have a mono repo with a bunch of projects. For example, a package or core UI components, one for networking, one for geolocation, makes you be a bit better about what API you expose. Yeah, in the company I work for, they have that too. But they all work with this very similar technologies, and so they can have those core libraries. I think most of the time when I'm working on stuff, it's a different client, a different whatever. And I've tried to do stuff where I try to think maybe I could just use dependency injection, like create a class library and then just have like in a component way. So okay, this will be my data access component. It always gives data back in this one similar format, and then that way for each client I can rewrite that that one little bit, but everything else stays the same. And a lot of projects I've worked on have been those kind of glue projects that we talked about before, where you like you have you have like an existing application that you use for different people, but like let's say this client, they use they don't have an API, so they use FTP, or this other one uses MySQL, and another one uses SQL Server or whatever, or MongoDB. So like you would still have to rather than say we don't support it, because every time I ask a client when they come and say, do you think you could do this, and I say, yeah, do you have an API exposed? They go, what? Do you have like an API? I go, what? And I've been in meetings with other developers where they just keep asking like, do you have an API? Do you have like a is it REST based? Is it? And the client has no idea. They're just like, oh, some guy did it or whatever, or they have a very junior developer who didn't even think about exposing anything. Let's see, MCYK, you got this. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's one of those things where you like, the reality is, I mean, like when you're hanging around other developers, we talk about how, like you could be working on something really advanced, but that there's other things more advanced out there. You're like, dude, we're still using this. We're still just using, unit testing. We're not using behavior-driven testing, or we're not using integration testing, whatever like that. And then you would find out when you go out and work at different places, like most places don't do hardly any testing. Their testing is like, okay, click, 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 click. Yeah, it's working. Put it out there. Whereas you have these test suites. In other places, they're super big on these test suites. They're like, religious about making sure that we have 75% code coverage and everything like that. So, but yes. So let's see what else I've been working on. Yeah, I know I've been. It's one of these. You ever get to the end of the week that you have such a busy week, you try to think of what you've been working on, you're like, I can't remember. Yes, I think my big thing for the last month, and one of the reasons why I've been so quiet lately, is just dealing with the Android changes for Google Play. I think it was this thing where I had this. one application I had was I found a bug in it. It was a small bug, and I was like, okay. Oh, and then I found another, and it was like kind of just okay. I tested. I thought, okay, I'm gonna test this thoroughly, end to end. I'm gonna make sure that everything tested. Run the unit test obviously, but then go through and just make sure everything. Okay, every scenario, logging in, logging out, registering new user, blah blah blah, right? And then so I got all that done, and I compiled it, uploaded it to Google Play, and it says, oh, you have to use Target API 31 now, which is for Android 12, and you're like, oh, okay, let me just make that change and compile. Then nothing compiles. Then all of a sudden you're going through and, it was like a whole nother testing and doing all that kind of stuff again, which was just something so easy to do. Rejuvenating soul. App revenue earnings report. I should do one. It's been, so here's the deal. Here's why I don't. My virtual assistant, I let my virtual assistant go a few weeks ago, or a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. So she was doing the daily revenue report. I can show it to you because it's not like a secret or anything, but I only have it going up until I think October. Yeah, up until October. So, but let's have a quick look at that because I need to bring it up to date. If I can find where everything is. So this doesn't. All right, so I don't know if can you see this? Let's see. Yeah, so this is basically going up to that's not working. Yeah, so like going back, like I said yesterday on AdMob, yesterday's AdMob revenue was £21. Last month I made 608. This month it looks like it's going to be around 550. So it is declining general, and that's just the AdMob side. That's not including in-app purchases, and I just need to get through and redo those. So let's see. Let's see. Crawford says, how do you go about testing projects in projects you are contracted to do? That's the same kind of thing. It's like writing those unit tests and everything like that. So, I have this rule. If it gets complicated, like logically, like where I need to map it out into a flow chart, because it's like I just need to make sure that the logic is right, then that's a good candidate for a unit test. I've never been somebody who writes unit tests for like, a button click or do this, because that's something that should come out in like normal use. But you have these, when you have so many different scenarios going through that you need to be able to cater for like loads of different things, and that's one of those where you need to put that, you need to write some sort of automated test to go through and check that stuff out. So otherwise you're just going to spend forever on the testing process. And I know sometimes you might work at some place where they have a dedicated tester, which is good. It's good to have a dedicated tester, but it also, I think, it makes you a bit lazy. Like you put stuff out thinking, oh, they'll find it. Whereas sometimes you just gotta sit there and just go like, and it could be boring, especially when you're like logging, like just going through, like I said, all the different scenarios. Create a user with this name, that name, blah 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 blah. That kind of stuff could be unit tests because you're doing it again and again and again, but you still need to test it on a physical device, and sometimes that's difficult. So many times I've had things where I've tested it on a virtual device on a simulator and everything works fine, but then when I actually go to like a physical device, then I get a crash or get an error or some kind of thing. So that kind of sucks. Let's see, and Rejuvenating Soul says, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to get that. I need to get that report up and running. I mean, I probably should do a revenue report at the end of the year like I've done the last few years. I don't know if I did one for this year. But it's like, you know what it's like? It's like if I was like to give you like stand on the scale, go, I'm going to show you guys my progress of losing weight, and then I'm like not even working at it. I'm like, yeah, I'm having an off year. That's kind of what it's like when I get my revenue reports now. It's like, I'm making excuses as I do it. Yeah, I really need to update this one. I need to do this. So, but yeah. So, but yeah, everything's going pretty well. So, so I think that's the last question. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's a nice, easy live stream tonight. I hope you guys have. Let's finish it up there. I hope you guys are having like I said, I have not done many live streams. I keep thinking in the new year we'll get some more done. But I hope you guys have a great week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time.